Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Future Tech Podcast. It's me, Charlie Sell, the Group MD of Arrows Group, and this is a podcast aimed at STEM graduates where I'm interviewing thought leaders, chief people officers, people directors, technologists, all looking at their story, what they're passionate about related to what our STEM listeners are looking for in their next career moves, and that all-important career advice at the end. And I'm really pleased to have Victoria Foley with me today. Victoria is the People Director at Beauty Pie, and Beauty Pie is a global e-commerce platform summarised as the Beauty Buyers Club, which Victoria will tell us a little bit more about. But it's just another way that technology is empowering businesses to do well in their respective industries. And Victoria's story is also really interesting how she got into it. So without further ado, Victoria, welcome to the show.
Hi, Charlie. Thanks so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, great. And so let's jump straight in and a bit about your story, please.
Yeah, of course. I sort of kicked off my people career fairly early on. I came out of university, did some temping, which led to a role in recruitment. So very much focused on the hiring side of public sector for a while, working there. And then I moved in-house. And I moved in-house with a very large, sadly no longer kind of, around retailer, high street retailer, and grew up there really. So I worked at the Arcadia Group, very much a great grounding for a people role, and did a lot of resourcing roles, different brands, dabbled on the people side. And it was when I moved on from there and joined White Stuff, so another high street retailer. I took my first pure people role and was very lucky to be able to then experience the kind of full gamut of the people role of everything that goes into that, whether it be reward, hiring, employee relations. And so I spent some time there. And I think, so having spent a long time in retail, I think retail has definitely changed over the years. It's definitely become a more difficult place to kind of to function, I think, for some people. And I was approached by a recruiter who had an opportunity that they wanted some advice on. And did I know anyone who wanted to join a new startup in the beauty industry? And I listened to the job and thought, actually, that sounds really interesting. And definitely was thinking about my next move. So managed to convince them that they might need someone a bit more senior than they originally thought, wrangled myself an interview. And as they say, the rest is history. So I've been with Beauty Pie for 5 years now. And we very much started out life as I would say, traditional e-commerce retailer selling beauty. I think the kind of twist in our story, or the thing that makes us special, and you mentioned the word Beauty Buyers Club, is that our founder, so we're founded by the kind of unstoppable Marcia Kilgore. She's a serial entrepreneur. She is responsible for really iconic brands, Bliss Spas, Soap and Glory, FitFlop shoes. She's been there and done it several times over. And the whole idea was that she really wanted to democratize the beauty industry. And it's only when you end up sort of learning a little bit more about it, you start looking at the markups that happen across beauty. And her view was that was quite restricting and was creating this tiered approach where actually it was something that was quite exclusive and not everyone could access it. So definitely around kind of the inclusivity and how do you bring luxury beauty to the masses and make it accessible for everyone. And that's what she's done. So the business is very much set up to source luxury beauty and bring it to directly to the consumer. And we sort of do that through our platform. So the platform and the tech has grown over time and is allowing us to do that in new and wonderful ways and really serve our customer in the best way.
Fantastic. And so I remember when we were talking in preparing for the podcast, and you've got a really interesting mix within the business, haven't you? Because you've got half technologists and who are building the platform, but also you've got people who specialize in the beauty products and the buyers. And so it's probably quite a unique culture, I can imagine, in many ways, where you have to think about different types of personalities and the well-being and how do you create well-being and a culture that fits not just a typical e-commerce technology business or not just a typical retail business, but you've genuinely brought the two together. And so what's your thoughts? What have been the challenges, or how's that worked for you, thinking about building the culture and the people aspects of a business like Beauty Pie?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. We sort of have two halves that we bring together, and it's always been very, very important to us that we don't create siloed cultures. And the tech part of our business is relatively new, so we've actually tripled our headcount since the start of the pandemic. So it's been quite a kind of high period of growth for us, and a lot of that has been hiring our tech teams and thinking about sort of how does our business need to operate differently? How do we ensure that the more retail focused areas of the business truly understand the impact that tech is having for them, and equally that the tech part of the business really understands what the other guys do, that they understand product development, that they understand the marketing, and how everyone is kind of working together. And we've done that against the backdrop, as many businesses have, of the pandemic. So when we sent everyone home in March, gosh, it was a year before last now, or whenever we did send everyone home, the immediate focus was, can everyone work? Are you set up? Do you have the equipment that you need? So very, very practical thoughts around, can we give people allowances to help them set up at home? Can we make sure that everyone has a second screen? Do they have a keyboard? Do they have a mouse? Does anyone need a desk? Can we buy anyone a desk? Do you need an ergonomic chair? Is there any equipment that you need to make your life easier? So I think initially it was really practical. What can we do to allow you to work from home and make it easy? And then I think once we moved past that, again, like many other businesses, we thought about connections. So how do you foster those water cooler moments? People were starting to feel maybe a little bit isolated at home. And technology has really helped us with that. So we'd just introduced Slack. So just before the pandemic, we'd introduced Slack into the business. So people were already getting used to a new way of communicating. And so we started to look at what technology was out there that was going to help us connect our teams. So we introduced Donut, which is a kind of chat, I say chat function, but it's a Slack integrated piece of tech, which will prompt people with sort of daily quotes or connect people, sort of look at people's diaries and find time for them to connect. So you can meet people from different parts of the business. We have water cooler topics that it sends out once a week, which it sends out on our social channel. And it can be anything. What's your favorite food? What was the last movie you watched? If you were a vegetable, what vegetable would you be? But sort of the quite random stuff. But it gets people talking and it gets people interacting with each other. And not everything we tried worked. I think, again, many businesses, it was trial and error. We had the tea break for a while, which was in everyone's diaries, and you could join a Zoom link. And I think that lasted about 3 weeks when people were just really struggling to come on board. So for us, it's around trying things and making sure that our teams are feeling connected. It's moving more into the well-being space. And again, lots of businesses for a long time understood that looking after the holistic health of your teams and the people that work for you is just sensible, good business and the human thing to do. And we really, again, against that backdrop of people working from home, people not being in an office together, thinking about things like mental health. So again, looking at technology to help us support people. So we've got Spill, which again is a Slack integrated piece of technology, which you can go through a Slack channel, you can ask for advice, you can set up a counselling session, so you can have a live counselling session with someone, and Spill actually will come and do mental health talks with your teams and support your teams in understanding a little bit more. And things like dialing up our private medical insurance and making sure that had a mental health covering for there, which allows people access to counselling and thinking about that. But connectivity has been the biggest thing. And I think as we've come out of that very heavy lockdown period, we have an office space which we outgrew during lockdown. So we can't actually get everyone back into the office, even if we wanted to. So thinking about what does hybrid mean now, what does it mean in the future, looking for new office space and how do we approach that? And the world of work has completely changed, and technology is there to really help people in this new world when you might have some people in the office, you might have some people at home, and how does that work? So we've invested in tech within the office, Zoom rooms, and making sure that people are able to connect as easily as possible. but also thinking about how we do things and how we set up our ways of working has been quite interesting. And then the simple stuff, teams want to get together, they want to spend time together. So giving them things like monthly lunch budgets where they can go out and have lunch together as a team, or activity budgets where they can go and organise a quarterly activity, whether it's kind of a round of crazy golf or going to see an exhibition or just something to bring them together. So thinking about things like that, but it's constantly evolving. Some of it technology can answer, and some of it you kind of need to be in person and have that human touch. And how we use our office has completely changed as well. So before, where it was rows of desks and people sitting there and doing their work in the office, it's very much more now collaboration, creativity, connectivity. You're coming into the office to work with other teams, to break out of your home space and break out of your silo and start to work with other people. So we've learned a lot. We really have learned a lot. And technology has been a huge part of that journey for us in the last year and a half.
Yeah, and it's great to hear of the many initiatives that you put in place. And you're so right. When I speak to many different companies, it is trial and error. But when things work, it's then about getting people to embrace it, or get feedback for people to embrace it. And I guess one of the interesting things with hybrid working is, because it's so new to so many businesses, I don't think anyone really knows what's the total right answer or not in regards to, what is the right method of hybrid working, when you've got some people who live in flat shares or in small houses who find it very difficult to be able to work from home, whilst others have found a new way of life and are now, more balanced. Have you seen any challenges, or how have you sort of helped? What's been Beauty Pie's approach to thinking, okay, how do we help the two different groups, and how do we bring it together?
Yeah, I think for us, not being able to have everyone in the office in one go means that we've had to face into that quite quickly. I think you're right, it's trial and error. For us at the moment, it's a limited amount of office passes. You can book one, you can come into the office. But equally, we're in serviced office space, and we have the opportunity for people to use their passes to go to the other serviced office spaces across London. So encouraging people who might be in that flat chair, who might be working from their bedroom, to go and use those spaces. And thinking about how do we prioritise their needs. Do you need to be in the office? Because actually it's the only place that you can get some work done. I think for us, as we move forward, it's all up for grabs. Our philosophy is very much, we hire adults and we treat people like adults, and it's got to be an open conversation, and we want to offer flexibility, and we trust our teams to perform and to deliver. And if you feel that actually you do that better from home, then absolutely, it's got to be what works for the business, the team, and the individual. Yeah. Always in that order, but certainly making sure that, how do you support high-performing teams? And that's in both ways. But I think, interestingly, lots of conversations around hybrid. Does hybrid actually exist? Or do you need to set yourself up as a remote-first business initially? And then how does that impact on how do people join meetings? How do you collate reactions from a meeting? How do you communicate to people when you have some people in the office and some people at home? Yeah. And we're not quite there yet, because I think we are remote-first at the moment. Everyone is pretty much... We can fit about 25%, slightly less of our whole org into the building at the moment. So we're hoping to increase that in January. So actually it takes it off the table a little bit for us in this way. But we are thinking about what does that mean in the future. And I'm sure we'll get some things wrong and we'll get some things right.
Yeah, and I think there's a level of understanding with everyone that everyone's trying the best, aren't they? One of the interesting things that I've spoken again to other companies and peers is, I think there's been a realization as well that hybrid working, it shouldn't be seen as building the culture. That's either a benefit or a reality of the business. And so actually, you've then got to think about culture separately. And how do you maintain a culture of a company if you are remote first? And you gave some brilliant examples of some of the Slack API add-ons, Donuts, Spill. Is there anything else that you're thinking in your mind's eye when you know, when the world gets back to normal a little bit, and a lot of the times people identify with a company because they're in the office, or used to be 3-5 times a week. There's the cooler chats, there is the knowing the names of each other's kids, pet dogs, partners, and it sort of builds that culture. Becoming remote first, what's your thoughts on how to sort of continue to build a culture for the business?
I think for us eventually, and I said, we are looking at office space and where do we go next and what does that mean? Our aim is to design an office space that will encourage people to spend time together.
Brilliant.
And I think allowing people that flexibility to work from home when they need to, but ultimately, I think you're right. Some of those touch points, those human touch points, are what builds a company's culture. It's how you build on your values. It's how you create those storytelling moments within a business when everyone says, oh, do you remember when we all did this? Do you remember when that happened? And I think you can have some of that when everyone's working remotely, but we don't aim to be a remote first business forever. We do see a point in time when we would love to have an office space that we encourage people to come back into, while still allowing that flexibility for those people, as you said, who have found a different way of living, and whether that's spending more time with their partner, their children, being able to give more time to caring responsibilities that they might have, a hobby that they've suddenly discovered that they have a real passion for. We want to be able to sort of accommodate that, but equally understand that you may have some people who coming to an office 5 days a week is what they need for themselves, personally, their work, their mental health, whatever that might be. Yeah. And so giving that flexibility. I think for us, it's been clear on our values. So making sure that we sort of dial up our values and talk about them and have them as that red thread which runs through everything that we do, that we have touch points. So we had a get together in the summer, which was great. And we're doing another sort of holiday party coming up at the beginning of December. And again, it's not making people come if you feel comfortable, if you want to kind of come and hang out with people. And we had such a great attendance at the one in the summer. And I think the positive response rate, for people wanting to come to the one that we're having in a few weeks, has equally been as high. So I think there's a real appetite. So for us, it's about creating a mixture of connecting people remotely, but equally giving people those touch points. And I think those touch points are really important when you're building culture.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. I really couldn't. And it does sound, really well done, first of all, because again, it's not an easy job, and when it falls on the shoulders of the people team, where there's also many other parts of your role where, that doesn't change from the HR challenges and the growth challenges and the recruitment challenges to also include this, which is so pivotal to businesses. Everyone's talked about the great resignation that was meant to be happening in September and October, and truly and genuinely, from my side of the coin, that was only going to happen because people had lost touch of the business they're working for, not because of any other reason. So the fact that you've been a thought leader, or you're leading that, that there's some real inspiration there. And for many of our STEM listeners, when they're thinking about companies they want to join, it's now one of the questions we advise our more junior people that we place is to actually ask around the culture. How have you adapted to the new ways of working, and how will I get the support I need if I'm new to the company in the first few months? And that onboarding has become more critical now, hasn't it, than probably ever before?
Absolutely, and onboarding has been a huge project for us. So I think we weren't great at it early on in the pandemic, and we were scaling really quickly, and our onboarding definitely fell behind. And it's been a real focus for the team. They've done an amazing job, and we now have great feedback on the onboarding process. But you're absolutely right. But it was one of those things that, in hindsight, looking back, we didn't scale our onboarding as quickly as we were scaling our teams, and we certainly hadn't allowed it to catch up with the remote nature. So everyone had their tech on the first day, but I think people weren't as connected to, well, who are all the different teams and who does what and where does my role fit into it, and how do I get access to company information, and what are the OKRs that I should be thinking about. So we've had some catching up to do in that area, but you're absolutely right. I think when grads are thinking about roles and companies that they want to go into, first and foremost, think about the culture, ask about the culture, think about what it is that makes you get up and get out of bed in the morning, and is that company going to kind of light that fire for you? Because doing work that you feel is engaging and meaningful is an absolute joy. There's nothing worse than having that Sunday dread and you think, oh, I've got to go to work tomorrow. Yeah. Amazing to be thinking, I love my job and I love what I'm doing, and I can see where it fits into the bigger picture. And I think that's the key. Understand your role, understand the impact that it's having in the business.
Yeah. Again, and what a lovely way to lead into the final part of the podcast, which is that career advice. So I think that's been a brilliant first piece there of encouraging people to ask about the culture and to be inquisitive. And so, any other pieces, a couple of pieces of advice you'd give to our STEM listeners when they're thinking about their first steps into the sort of the commercial world, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's the same advice I'd give to any grad. Research the company, know who they are, what they do, what can you find out about them, what are the sources, have you looked on LinkedIn, have you looked at Glassdoor, have you had a look at their website? I've been so surprised throughout my career the number of times that somebody's sat in front of me when I've been hiring people and not really been able to tell me anything about the company that they've applied for. So it's just even knowing the simple information and thinking about, again, what's right for you. Do you want to go to a big company where there's lots of structure and you're going to learn from the processes that are already in place? Or do you like setting stuff up from scratch? Do you think a smaller company is better for you? What are you going to learn at a startup versus a much more established company? And thinking about sort of what you want out of that first role. I don't expect everyone to have a 5-year plan, but I do always think, try and think past that one job that you're applying for and think about where it might lead you, or at least be very clear on what you want to get out of that role. What are you going to learn? What is it going to bring to you? And I think, hiring is such a two-way conversation, and actually holding that in their minds and thinking that actually it's not just about what can you bring to a company, but being quite bold and asking a company about their progression opportunities. What are they going to learn? How are they going to learn it? To your point, are they remote? Are they not remote? Where's their support? If they're not in the office, how are they going to learn from people? And so I think it's that research and that preparation and just having a really good think about you as a person, what's going to be right for you, and finding that passion and finding work that you're passionate about, or a business that you're passionate about, or a sector that you're passionate about. I think will just come across when you interview. If you're passionate about the business that you've applied for, that will be there in the way that you talk and the way that you interact during that process. Yeah,
and what a brilliant way to sort of summarize it, because I couldn't agree with you more. Research, but find a business you are passionate about and has a purpose that you believe in and you come back, and values that resonate with your personal values. I think it's because life is too short is another thing we talk about a lot, and it's work should be inspiring, and we're the lucky ones when it does click like that. So Victoria, that's another podcast coming to an end. So look, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
And for all our listeners, that's another episode of our Future Tech podcast. So the podcast, as many of our followers will know, is on the Arrows Podcasts webpage. It's also on our 35 university career portals and on Spotify. So to all of our listeners, thank you. And we will see you on the next episode.